डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Namaskar. I, Dr. Darshana Dalwadi, is welcoming you all to the lecture series of Operating System and Software Installation from the Chaitanya Studio of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. Dear students, today we are going to discuss about Block 1, Unit 1, that is Introduction to Operating System. Now, as we know that whenever we are having any computer system, at that time we need to run it, and to run it we need some mechanism which will help us to interact with it. And in simple terms we can say that mechanism we have, that is the operating system of our computer or of any system. So in this lecture series we are going to discuss that what is it, how it is used, how many types of operating systems we have, and what are its advantages and what are its disadvantages. Now let us begin with our today's agenda. Today first we are going to discuss about the introduction. First we have the point, that is the introduction of operating system. Then after the definition. When we are talking about operating system, at that time we have different definitions which will reveal different views. Then evolution of operating systems means how many type of how many type of operating systems we have. In its evolution we are considering wiring up plug boards, then serial processing, then batch processing, then spooling batch processing, multi-programming, time sharing, real-time processing, network processing, distributed processing, and general categories of operating system. So in today's lecture we are going to discuss these things. Now let us start our discussion. First thing we have, that is introduction. So here we are introducing the operating system, means we are trying to understand that what is the meaning of operating system. When we are talking about operating system, we can say that it is a program which is managing the computer hardware. As I told you in the beginning of the lecture, that when we are having any system, whether it is a computer, whether it is a mobile or any other device which we are executing or which we are using, so to use it we require some mechanism by which it will understand that what we want to do with it. That mechanism we have, that is operating system. So here it is giving you the explanation that operating system is a program that manages the computer hardware. It also provides a basis for application programs and acts as an intermediary between the computer user and the computer hardware. What is the main task of operating system? Its main task is, it is becoming a intermediate between the user of the computer and the hardware of the computer. In this unit, we will provide a general overview of the major components of an operating system. Now let us see its definition. Now when we are defining it, so first thing we can say, that is what? As already we have seen that it is a one type of program which is doing the controlling of whole system. In other terms we can say that operating systems are system software that run on top of computer hardware. In previous lectures we have seen that we are having two type of softwares. One software we have, that is application software, and another software we have, that is system software. System software means which are made for a specific system, for a whole system, and application software means which are made for particular application, for particular function. So when we are talking about this operating system, we can consider that it is for whole system, so it is a kind of system software. So we can define it like this, that operating systems are system software that run on top of computer hardware. This definition needs to be observed from different perspectives of computer system, namely from application software and user hardware interaction. When we are defining like this, we have to think about it for different perspectives. Which perspectives we are considering? We can say that from the application software as well as from user hardware interaction. We can also define it as system program that monitors work of application programs. As I told you that two types of programs we have, application program and system program. So when we are talking about operating system, we can say it is the kind of system program which is doing the monitoring of the work of application programs. It is responsible for the loading and execution of application programs. How the application programs will be loaded and how it will get executed, the whole task is performed by the operating system. It has to make sure the availability of the required hardware and software requirements before it executes the application program. As I told you that the responsibility of loading and executing the application program is of operating system, but before it executes it must be sure that it should make sure that the requirement of hardware and software is fulfilled by the system. Otherwise, what will happen? We are trying to run, but because it is not having the proper hardware and software, it is not going to be executed. So it has to make sure the availability of required hardware and software before executing the application program. Then only it will execute it. We can also define it as system software which acts as a bridge between the hardware and its user. As in our first definition we have seen, then that when we are having the operating system, it is working as an intermediate between the user and the hardware. So we can also define it like this also. In this term also we can give it as a definition that what is it? It is a type of system software which is acting as a bridge between the hardware and its users. The operating system, according to this definition, means we are saying that it is working as a bridge between the hardware and its user. According to this definition, what is operating system? Operating system is having responsibility to hide the complexities of the underlying hardware for the end user. See, when we are using it, when we are going to use any system, at that time we are just giving the command. The execution of command is done with the help of operating system. To execute that command, whatever hardware it requires, we are not able to see it directly. So that is the responsibility of that operating system, that it will hide the complexities of hardware from the end user. The end user is not supposed to know the details of hardware components like CPU, memory, disk drive, and many more. As an end user, suppose I am using the system, I am just giving the input. I do not have to see how it is going to the CPU, how the CPU is executing it, how it is stored in memory, and how I am getting the result. I am just giving input and my task is to see the output. The remaining task from input to output is done with the help of operating system. So if we are talking that when we are having software, system software, means our operating system, which is acting as a bridge, then it will do this thing. Which one? It will hide the responsibilities, it will hide the complexities of hardware, and it will also hide us from us the hardware parts like CPU, memory, disk drives. So this is what the definition. We have seen three different definitions. Now moving forward, we can also define it as a operating system which will be providing the bridge between the user and the hardware. Application software and physical component of the computer systems are there. Between these two, the operating system will work as a bridge. It facilitates and monitors running of application programs and functions as a middleman between hardware and users. It is working as a middle person between the application program and the between the hardware and the users. Now moving forward to the evolution of operating system, when we are talking about this, we can say that we are having different categories of computers. The generations are classified based on varieties of criterion. We have different criteria based on which we will have the classification of different generations of operating system. One of the major criteria to classify computer generations is the type of operating system used. Which type of operating system we are using? Based on that, we are classifying the computer operating system. This is one major criteria. We may have different criteria also. Evolution of operating systems over the past decades has shown number of progresses from several perspectives. Different perspectives are considered, and based on that we are having number of evolutions of operating system. Starting from the point where machine does not have operating systems to a distributed processing capabilities. Now we are saying that it has shown number of evolutions, number of progresses. Now which progress we are considering? We are considering from the starting point where we were not having any machine with operating system, and from such machines we have now the machines with distributed processing capabilities. So in between this we have number of categories, number of operating system. So first thing we are going to see, that is wiring up plug boards. In this, we can say that low-level programming language, which is called as machine language, was used to write computer instructions through wiring up plug boards. As the name suggests, we are having wiring up plug boards, means plug boards are there on which with the help of machine language we are writing the code, we are writing the instructions, and that instructions are executed and then we are getting the output. Plug boards control the basic functions of the computer. When we have such type of operating system, no operating system softwares were introduced. In such systems, operating system softwares were not there. No programming languages to develop applications. There were no programming language. We were using only machine language, which was having the code which are used in it. No operators were required, and complex programming and machine underutilization. When we were having such type of OS, operating system, at that time the programming was very complex and machine was underutilization. Every time machine got utilized. So this is what we are having in wiring up plug boards. Next we have, that is serial processing. Now in this what we are having, the technique is to run a single job. As the name suggests, serial processing. Serial means in series, one by one. When we are having this serial processing, we can say that developer creates his or her program and punches it on cards. They are developing their program and punches it on the card. He or she submits the card to an operator in the input room. In input room, we are having one operator who will help the programmer to input the card which is made by the programmer. He or she reserves machine time on a sign up sheet. They have to sign up a sheet. Based on that, the machine will be allocated to them. So they were reserving machine time on a sign up sheet. Operator set up the job as scheduled. Whatever scheduling the operators are having, they are setting it as the given schedule. Operator carries over the returned output to the output room. Whatever input card is given to the operator, it gets executed, and what output they are getting, that output is returned to the output room. The developer will collect the output later. The output will be getting collected by the developer, which will be collected later on. No operating system software were introduced. Here also we were not having operating system softwares, and no programming languages to develop applications. So this is what we are having in serial processing. Thereafter we have its features. What are its features? If we talk about the features of serial processing, then we can say users get access in series. As the name suggests, I already told you that in series, serial means one by one. See, one gets executed, then the turn will come for the second one, and so on. Program writing was improved, that is the disadvantages. Wasted time due to scheduling and setup. Time was getting wasted because of the scheduling and the setup. Wasted time while operators walk around the machine room. Operator has to go from input room to output room. So when they are going around this machine, they were having the wastage of time. Large machine or processor idle time. So these are the features of serial processing. Now moving forward, we have the next operating system, that is batch processing. Now in batch processing, what we are having, the users of batch operating system do not interact with the computer directly. Direct interaction is not there with the computer system. Each user prepares his job on an offline device like punch cards and submits it to the computer operator. When we are having this batch processing, at that time users are preparing his job on offline device like punch cards. We are having punch cards on it. The users will prepare their instruction set and submits it to the operator. Whosoever computer operator is there, to them they are submitting it. To speed up processing, jobs with similar needs are batched together and run as a group. Here they want to speed up the processing of the system. So what they are doing, when they are finding such type of punch cards, they are categorizing it. Means the punch card with some similar functionalities, some similar needs, or we can say whatever similarities they are having, based on that they are got bunched in a batch, and that batch is processed and run as a group. Thus, the programmers left their programs with the operator. The operator then sorts programs into batches with similar requirements. The operators are sorting the program into batches with similar requirements. The technique is to run a batch of job. In this batch processing, we can say the main technique we have is to run a batch of job. Moving forward with the advantages. When we talk about the advantages of this operating system, batch operating system, we can say once the data process is started, the computer can be left running without supervision. We need know to have to supervise the computer when we are having the running of one batch. Once the batch processing is started, it will execute by itself. Batch processing allows an organization to increase efficiency because a large amount of transactions can be combined into a batch rather than processing them each individually. It is not in executing the batch, the punch card individually. Instead of that, it is combining it into a batch, and that batch is getting executed. So it is allowing an organization to increase efficiency. When we are having batch processing, ultimately it is increasing the efficiency of the organization. So these are the these are the advantages. With it, it is also having some disadvantages. Now let us see that what are that. First thing we can say, it is very difficult to maintain the priority between the batches. Category is there. We are categorizing the batch according to the similarity, but to which thing we have to give the priority, that is very difficult to decide. There is no direct interaction of user with computer, lack of interaction between the user and job. CPU is often ideal because the speed of the machine input output devices is slower than the CPU, and it is difficult to provide the desired priority. As we have seen that it is difficult to decide the priority, so as we are also having the difficulty as we have seen that it is difficult to decide the priority, so as we are also having the difficulty to provide the desired priority in the sense of output also. With batch processing, there is a time delay before the work is processed and returned. So these are the disadvantages of batch processing. Next one we have, that is pooling batch processing technique. Now in this technique what we are having, adds up spooling technique to simple batch processing. Now you may have the question that what is the meaning of spooling? Spooling means simultaneously peripheral operation online. It is the ability to read jobs or print job outputs while the processor executes job. What is spooling? Spooling is the ability to read jobs or print job outputs while the processor executes jobs. Now you may have the question that what is the meaning of read jobs? Read jobs means we are reading from cards to disk, means we are getting the input. Reading means we are reading from cards to disk, and print job output means from disk to printer, means we are printing something, we are generating the output from disk to printer. When we have this pooling batch processing, it is used in input and output operations. With spooling, every time a currently executing task is completed, a new task is shipped from storage to the now empty panel and be executed by the OS. When we are using spooling, every time a currently executing task is completed, a new task is shipped from storage to the now empty panel. We have storage panel, we have now empty panel, and from now empty panel it will get in execute panel. So in this manner the new task will shift from storage to the now empty panel, and from it is going to be executed. And spooling is the first attempt of multi-programming. Right now we are having multi-programming operating system, but the spooling batch processing technique was the first attempt of multi-programming. When we have this spooling batch processing, we have its advantage as well as its disadvantage. Its advantages are it avoids CPU idle time between batches of jobs. Between different batch, ideal CPU time is avoided by this spooling, and improve turnaround time means output of a job was available as soon as the job completed, rather than only after all jobs in the current cycle were finished. In previous one, what we were having, we have to wait for the output until the entire job gets executed. Here we are having the benefit that we are getting the output as the input is getting executed. We need not to have to wait for the entire cycle to be executed. With its some disadvantages are also connected. What are that? It is large turnaround time, that is the disadvantage. Second one we have, that is large CPU idle time on heavily input output bound jobs. So this is what we are having in spooling batch processing. After that we are having multi-programming. In multi-programming, what we can say, in a multi-programming system, there are one or more programs which are loaded in the main memory, which are ready to execute. Only one program at a time is able to get the CPU for executing its instructions, while all the others are waiting their turn. They are having multiple programs, but at a time only one program will get the CPU time, others has to wait for their turn. The main idea of multi-programming is to maximize the use of the CPU time. And the ultimate goal of multi-programming is to keep the CPU busy as long as there are processes ready to execute. So dear learners, today we are keeping up to this. In next lecture, we will move forward with the remaining types of operating system. So up to that, have a great time. Namaskar.
स्वाध्यायः